my goodness, look at all of you waiting already here. Looks like you guys are ready to go today. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. I'm just going to get a couple of nails ready to go for you guys today. We've got a little bit, I'm going to kind of change it up just a little bit today. Give you a two for one deal today. So I'm going to get 2 nails ready to go. Give everybody a chance to jump in. Hopefully everybody's getting the notifications. Let's see. Sue Turner, I think I saw you over in Greg's live on TikTok. So thanks for joining us on both of those. Welcome, welcome. Let's see, who else is here today? Oh my gosh, you guys, chat is moving quick here. Hi, Bilgi? I'm sorry if I pronounced this right or wrong. Isis Inspired. Hello, Lizzie. Hello, Ethan. Welcome back. Nice to see you guys again. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a great day today. Just going to get my nails ready here real quick, and then we can jump in and get started on our nails. Just out of curiosity, those that are with us here today, is anybody jumping back over from TikTok other than Sue Turner? Is anybody else watching Greg over on TikTok live today? Let me know in the chat if you were. Let me know if you were over on TikTok today. Ethan says, I have a few questions. Go ahead and put your questions into the chat. I will try to get them answered as I go. Otherwise, if I don't, most likely our moderators will take care of some of those questions for you. Oh my gosh, looks like a lot of you were over on TikTok. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You guys, if you didn't know, we do have a live stream over on TikTok as well. Greg usually does the TikTok live streams, so you can always check in over there. Greg is going to definitely break down things a lot more technical, and I tend to do a little bit more design work, so definitely check us both out. We're going to offer you guys both a ton of information. Let's see, somebody was asking what size brush do you use? The brush that I'm going to be using today for our demo is Greg's signature brush. This is a size 12, and I absolutely love this one. You can use that for larger nails, smaller nails. It is a size 12, but it's an oval. It's got a little bit of a crimp right into the ferrule, so it's kind of flattened out right here. So you can make that brush a little bit more of a wedge shape or a little bit more kind of oval shaped there. So that's the one that I'm going to be using today. Let's see. Hello from New Zealand. Awesome. Welcome to New Zealand. Well, not to New Zealand. Welcome to you in New Zealand. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. And like I mentioned, we're going to be doing a 2-for-1 today. So I'm actually going to be doing 2 nails for you. I'm going to be doing the same design on both of them, but I've gotten a lot of people saying recently that they like the design, but it's too long, it's too short, it's not the right shape for me. So today I'm going to do the same design on 2 nails. We're going to do a shorter nail and we're going to do a longer nail. So those of you that like the shorter nails, you can kind of adapt this to your shorter nails. If you like the longer nails, you can adapt it to your longer nails. So let's get into our nails. I pushed back the cuticles and we're going to go through and remove the shine. So you guys, I'm going to work on both of these nails at the same time. So kind of like we would be doing a full set. So we're going to just go through our same steps all the way through. The only difference is going to be the length and shape. And we'll talk about that when we get to that. But we're going to continue with our prep. Again, I pushed back the cuticles already. I'm using our medium sanding band and just kind of feathering through the surface of the nail right up around that cuticle, making sure that I've got all of that shine removed. And my e-file was on about 5,000 RPM. So it's a nice, I like to say low and slow. So low and slow speed on your e-file. We're going to dust off those nails. Just using a dry manicure brush to start with. At this point, I don't have anything on my brush. I want to use a dry brush to start because that's going to help to get all of that dust and any debris off of the nail. Then we're going to go into our swipe. Okay, let me come back out here. Our swipe is our cleanser, and this is what I'm going to use to help remove any excess oils, any germs, any bacteria that might be on the nail. And you can use either one of our lint-free wipes, and you can pump a little bit of that onto that wipe, use that to scrub the nail clean. Or what I personally like to do is I'll usually take my manicure brush, pump a little bit of that swipe into my manicure brush, and then I can use that to scrub and clean the nail. Okay, personal preference. I'll tell you the reason that I like to use the brush versus the wipe. A couple of different reasons. One, I have to pay for wipes. Those are not reusable. So every time I use a wipe, I have to throw that away. My manicure brush, I can use that. I can clean the nail, and then I can sanitize and disinfect this, and then I can reuse that for my next client. So that's one of the things that, or one of the reasons that I prefer using the brush. The other reason is that anytime I use one of the lint-frees, there's a tendency that I'm going to get a little bit of that swipe onto my skin. Now, it's not a dangerous chemical, but if you guys can see, let me come in a little bit closer, to see how after that swipe has touched my skin, it dries out my skin. That's kind of the purpose of swipe, is to pull out that extra moisture. And if I'm doing that on my fingers throughout the day, you know, if you're working at salon and you've got 8 clients a day and you're getting that swipe onto your skin, it is definitely going to start drying out your skin. So that's another reason that I like to use the brush rather than using the wipe to cleanse that nail. So a couple of different reasons there. But we now can see that our nail is nice and clean. It has no oils on there, no germs, no bacteria. That swipe took care of all of that. I think somebody was asking in the chat, what is swipe? And swipe is it's our cleanser, and it's designed to just basically remove the surface oils in the nail, any germs. It's going to kill off any germs or bacteria so that you're going to have that really good, clean, dry, pH balanced, oil-free surface so that our product is going to adhere really, really well. Okay. Viva, I can't watch Sally, you're too mesmerized by Karen's glitter. You guys, if you didn't see my demo the other day, I did do the same design on a trainer hand the other day. So go check that out. You guys, all of our videos here, all of our live streams that we do post them back up. So you can always come back and rewatch those videos, and you can see those all. You guys, we have over 3,000 videos for you on our YouTube channel here. So make sure you've subscribed to our channel if you haven't already, and then you can see all of those different videos and all of that free education. So next thing I'm using is my Protein Bond. And Protein Bond is our bonder. So it works kind of like a double-sided tape. So I'm going to kind of tap a little bit of that product out of the brush. I don't want to flood that onto the nail, but it does work kind of like a double-sided tape where it's going to stick down to that natural nail, but then it's also going to leave a sticky surface for our product to grab onto. Now you're going to see after I get the Protein Bond on there, it's going to look shiny and sticky. It's not going to dry back to that kind of chalky look that it was before. This is not a primer, so it's not a methacrylic acid primer. It is a bonder. Primers work a little bit differently, but the Protein Bond, like I said, does work like a double-sided tape. So it really is going to anchor down to the surface of the nail, and it's going to stick really well to whatever you put over the top of it. And on our 2 nails here today, I did do 2 coats of our Protein Bond, and the reason for this is because I'm going to be doing 2 artificial nails. So I'm going to be doing acrylic on these. When I'm working with acrylic or hard gel, I always like to do 2 coats of the Protein Bond just to make sure that I get really great adhesion. Okay? All right, so let's start with our first nail. So our first nail is going to be our shorter nail. So for our shorter nail, I'm going to be using one of our original, kind of our traditional forms. And actually, you know what, I'll grab both of these at the same time so you can see what the difference is going to be while I work here. All right, so we've got 2 different forms. Let me come back out here a little bit. So I've got 2 different forms. Our original ones, the blue ones, those are good for those short, I would say short, medium, and longish nails. Okay, if you're doing long to extra long, those the red ones, those are definitely going to be your best friend, but you can still use the XL forms for shorter nails. It's just a personal preference, whichever one you want to use. But so I can show you guys both, I'm You guys, I'm sorry if the video just cut out there. I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully it was just a glitch. Maybe it was just on my end. Hopefully you guys are all still with me. Let me know in the chat. Are you guys with me? Is everything good? Can you see everything? Let me know. We're back. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to peel that form off that backing. I'm going to take that little tab out of the center, and we're just going to stick that right on the back of my form. Okay, that's going to give my form a little bit more structure, a little bit more support, a little bit more durability, and then we're going to pinch those two little tabs together. Okay, so pinch those together nice and tight. And depending on the shape that you're doing, if you're going to be doing a straight square nail, I would leave that end open just a little bit. If you are doing more of a coffin shape or more of an almond shape, then I would say pinch that form together at the end. Okay. If you want that longer nail, you can definitely leave that form all the way pinched right just at the end. But if you want it a little bit shorter, you can always pinch that form a little bit shorter, and then you've still got that really good tight curve in there. Okay. I'm also going to open up, there's a little perforated top up here. You can open up that top, and that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to put your forms onto your client. Okay. Let me come back in here. And when I put my forms on, kind of depends on how I'm feeling that day, how my client is sitting. Sometimes I'll hold the form right down here, kind of at the base area. So right here on kind of where the little silver lines fade out. Okay, so either there, or sometimes I'll even hold it just with one hand. If maybe my client is a little bit, maybe she's a little mobile and she's kind of antsy pants and she's moving around a little bit, sometimes I actually need to secure my client's hand. But either way, if you're holding your form and the client here, or if you're working here and supporting with your fingers back here, either way, what we want to do is, if you take a look at this from the side view, we want to start at a slight downward angle, catch that form right up underneath that natural nail. Do you see how that form is really angled downward? If I were to secure my form on her like that, I'm going to get kind of that bird beak looking nail. I'm going to get that really, really curved nail that I really just don't want. Okay. What I want to do instead is, from that angle, I'm just going to start to lift up on my form. It's going to kind of tuck right up underneath that natural nail, and then it's going to come straight out, and then I can secure it here on the sides. So again, if you take a look, now our form, I'll just grab an orange wood stick. Now our form is coming straight out. It's not angled downward anymore. Okay, so this is the angle that we're looking at. And if you're doing maybe a stiletto or not, well, we're not really doing a stiletto. We're doing a shorter, probably more of an almond shape. But do you see how the light is reflecting right through here? That's going to be a little bit more of your guide when you're doing those almond shaped nails, or even a short, I'm not going to say a coffin shape, because when you're doing a shorter nail like this, a coffin shape isn't really, I'm just going to say it, it's not really going to happen. Okay, you can do a more tapered square, and I'll talk a little bit about this when we actually get into that application as well. But trying to do a coffin shape on a shorter nail, you don't get that proper structure to get that really tight pinch in that free edge. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a shorter, kind of an almond shaped nail, and then we're going to do a nice long coffin shape on our second nail here. Okay. Licensed nail tech, can we do a short square, or did we already vote? We didn't vote today, but I'm making the executive decision. So again, you guys, you're getting that 2-for-1 deal today. We're going to do a shorter nail and a longer nail, but both with the same products, the same design, just so you can see how you can kind of incorporate these designs into whatever length and shape you want. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab our, let me come back here. We're going to grab our Speed Clear. And that's the acrylic that we're going to use today for our basic structure and for our overlay. And then we're also going to be using one of our slick pour powders, and this one is called Sucker Punch. This is a beautiful, really deep burgundy kind of a color. It looks a little bit more brownish. I would say a brown to burgundy. We'll say somewhere in the middle of that. And then we're also going to be using one of our glitters. This is called Zero Game Sun. Game Sum. I'm not sure what that means exactly. But this glitter is super pretty. It's a mix of some stars and some confettis, and then it also has, if we scoop down in there, it also has some really fine glitters in there. So you can kind of see that finer glitter in there, okay? So those are the colors that we're going to be working with today. And let's go ahead and grab our Speed Clear. And I'm going to grab a few of my table towels. You guys, these table towels I've cut up into smaller pieces. For me, I like to use them at this size for wiping my brush on so that I have my actual full table towel down here, but then I can just toss these when I'm done wiping my brush. So let's come over here and get my product in there so you can see. Again, this is our Speed Clear. I'm going to grab my monomer. Let's see what's in my monomer. Okay, you guys. So I do have some old monomer in my Dappen dish. I always like to show you guys this, but make sure you soak up that old monomer. Don't stick your fingers in there and get that on your skin. Use your magic wand or another tool to kind of grab that little towel, clean that out, and use fresh monomer every time, because I actually have a little bit of color from the last nails I was doing in that Dappen dish, and I want to make sure that it's nice and clean, so that's not going to get onto my nail that I'm creating now. So always make sure you're using fresh monomer. And let me grab my brush. And just a little trick that I like to use is if you take your brush, touch the top of your liquid bottle, you can pour your liquid straight down the brush right into that Dappen dish without spilling. Okay. Diva, how do you keep your monomer clean? Great question. The answer is change it. Make sure that whenever you're starting a new service that you're using fresh monomer, or even as you're working. If you're doing an extra long set, you may start to feel like your monomer, it may get a little bit of glitter in there, it may get a little bit of extra color from all of your other design work and everything. So as you need to, clean out your monomer and get fresh. It's always going to be better to have fresh monomer than to try to reuse old monomer and have it kind of clog your brush and clog on the nail. Okay, let's see here. Amber, yes, I'll show you my nails really quick, but I'll also tell you that I did do a demo of these a couple of days ago, so you can check that video out on our YouTube channel as well, along with over 3,000 other videos, you guys, on our YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button so you can see all of those videos. All right, let's go ahead and get into our nail. So on this nail, again, we're going to create a smaller nail. So I don't need to pick up, let me show you, I don't need to pick up a super big pearl. Something like this size, that's going to be way too big for my extension, okay? So what I need to do is I need to tap out a little bit more of my liquid. So on that last big pearl, I just gave my brush one quick tap. On my smaller pearls, I'm going to give it one tap, two taps. And you can kind of see, I'm not sure if that shows up on camera or not. Let me check. You can kind of see it's going to release some of that liquid from my brush. So every time I tap that, it's going to release a little bit of liquid from my brush. So the more liquid you release, the smaller the pearl you're going to pick up. So again, if I want to pick up a large pearl, I'm just going to tap once, and then I can press my brush. Let me see if I can get you guys to see this a little bit better on the side. There you go. So if I tap one time, I can pick up a pretty large size pearl by just bouncing my brush into that powder. Okay, that's going to pick up that pretty decent sized pearl. So you can kind of see that's a pretty big pearl. Okay, now for the length of nail that I'm creating, I want to take out some more of that liquid because I don't want to take that much acrylic of my powder. So again, I'm going to tap once, tap twice, and then I can come back into my powder and I'll be able to pick up a smaller pearl. That's about the size that I'm going to be working on this shorter nail, okay? So if I were to try to pick up a smaller pearl with just tapping out a little bit of that liquid, I don't know if you guys can even see that. Can you see how my brush is almost going to drip at the end? Let's see, there you go. You can kind of see it's almost going to drip at the end. That's going to be way too much liquid. And if I tried to pick up a smaller pearl, do you see how it's just going to run? That's going to be way too wet for me to even control on my nail here. So again, tap out your brush, tap once, tap twice. If you need to tap again for an even smaller pearl, you can tap a third time, and then you can pick up a teeny tiny little pearl. You guys, even though this brush that I'm using, it's a size 12, you can use this for whatever size pearl you want, okay? It's just learning how to control the amount of liquid in your brush to pick up that larger pearl, like this one, or tap twice for a medium-sized pearl, like this one, and this is again the size we're going to use, or tap 3 times or more for an even smaller pearl. And sometimes you do need those little small pearls for blending or filling in a little divot or something like that. So if you're new to doing nails, make sure that you're practicing getting that proper consistency so you're going to have better control of your product, okay? Okay, so let's pick up our pearl. I'm going to tap once, tap twice. I'm going to press my brush into my powder, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to pick up my pearl, and on my free edge, I'm going to drain out that extra liquid. I want to bring my product to a little bit more of a clay-like consistency, and let me show you guys what I mean by that. Let me just grab a form here real quick. So as I'm working on my free edge, if I were to pick up my pearl, bounce, 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 and if I were to just set that onto my form right away, do you notice what's happening? Maybe you can't quite see, but what's happening is that pearl is automatically going to flatten out and it's going to start to run. It's going to start to move. If I were to take that same pearl and tap, tap, press, 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 if I take that same pearl, drain out some of that extra liquid onto my towel, and then I set that down. Now, if you take a look from the side here, maybe this will give you a better view. There we go. So see how in this first pearl, it flattened out really, really quickly? On my second pearl, it's going to stay a little bit thicker and in more of that clay-like consistency. So it's going to be a little bit more kind of thicker feeling and a little bit more firm. So this way it's not going to run on my form and I'm going to have a lot more control over it. So when we're working on that free edge, press, 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 bounce, bounce. I'm going to pick up that pearl, drain out that extra liquid. Now I can set that right onto my form, give that a good press down. I'm going to wipe out my brush. Now I really have complete control of where I'm moving that product. Okay, it's not running all over the place, it's not moving. I can use the belly of my brush to press it out to the sides and then the edge of my brush to tuck those sides in. I'm going to bring the brush all the way back across, same thing, use the edge of my brush, tuck that in on the sides, and then press that product up into that corner. Okay, now let's make this a little bit more almond shape. So I'm going to just use, again, the edge of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of tuck that free edge in a little bit, make it a little bit more rounded right at that free edge. Okay, again, using the edge of my brush to take in those sides, press in that free edge just a little bit more to a little bit more almond shape. Okay, if I need to, I can come back through, use the belly, that fat part of my brush, press that nail out a little bit more, and then again using the edge of my brush to create that shape. Okay, so again, that's how we're going to create that shorter kind of almond shaped nail. Now, what I'm going to do with this one, because we're going to be using our glitters and our colored acrylic over this natural nail, I'm going to pick up a small pearl of my clear. So I want you guys to see that one more time. So press, 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 and now I can pick up that smaller pearl. I'm going to keep that one wet. I'm not going to drain out the liquid from that. And I'm going to set that down right at my cuticle area, and I'm going to blend that through the nail. Now, this pearl is not intended to build any structure. It's not intended to build really anything. All it's intended to do is give myself a layer on top of that nail so that when I do my glitters and all of my fun stuff, when I go to change out that design, I can file it all down, and I only file down to that clear layer. And that way I'm not going to damage that natural nail when I change out my designs. Okay, so that's going to be our first nail. Let's go into our second nail. Again, we're going to do a long stiletto, or not a stiletto. We're going to do a coffin today. So that's where I'm going to grab one of my XL forms. Just like we did with our blue form, we're going to take that little center tab out. And you guys, somebody told me that this looks like a dancing ghost, and I just can't get that out of my head. So I always say you're going to put that little dancing ghost on the back of your form. And then you're going to pinch those two little tabs together. Oops, sorry guys, you got to see this. So these two little tabs here on our form, we're going to pinch those sides together. And then now we can pinch that end a little bit more. Let me come back out just a little bit. So now you can see we're going to be using our longer form to create that coffin shape. Now with our shorter form, we couldn't get that tight pinch all the way through. With our long forms, when we're creating a long extension, that's where we can get that really tight taper all the way down to the end here, okay? Do you see how tight that taper is? Let me come in just a little bit more here. So if you can take a look here, see how tightly tapered that red form is at the end versus our blue form. So when you're wanting to do a coffin shaped nail, it does have to be a little bit on the longer side so that you can get that really nice tight taper. Now, we can pinch this a little bit tighter, so we can make it a little bit shorter, but we're still going to get that really nice tight taper all the way through that form. So that's how we're going to create our coffin shape, okay? That coffin shape is not just filing a square nail and taking the edges off of it. You do have to have that tight pinch in your C-curve all the way to that free edge, okay? All right, so let's get this form onto our nail. Same thing, we're going to start at a slight downward angle. We're going to lift that form up until it comes flush up underneath that natural nail. And then we're going to secure that down on the sides. Now I want to make sure that I give that form a good pinch underneath, because that's also going to help to get that really nice tight C-curve and that tight pinch all the way to the end right down here, okay? Okay, so we're going to do the same steps as we did on our first nail. We're just going to create a longer free edge. So with our longer free edge, we need more of a medium-sized pearl. So on our first nail, we did tap, tap. On this one, I think I'm just going to give it one decent tap. And then we're going to come in, we're going to pick up our pearl, and I'm going to let that absorb. And same thing, I'm going to drain out that extra liquid onto my towel. We're going to set that right at that free edge, press that down, and then I'm going to press using the body of my brush out to the sides, use the edge of my brush to tuck that in. Walk that up into that corner, press in on the sides. I'm just going to kind of give that a good press to kind of start pulling that product down the length of the nail, but pressing out that product all the way to the side. Same thing, walk that product up into that corner. And now again, starting to pull my product. I'm using a little bit more pressure at this point. My room is a little bit warm, so my product is definitely setting quickly. So I just want to make sure I get that product all the way down the length of the form and still create my structure and my shape with that coffin, okay? So again, tucking in with the edge of my brush, pressing that bulk and that thickness out. Tuck in with the edge of my brush and press that bulk, okay? So at this point, you can kind of see it's looking, I guess it's looking like a long almond, or like a long, yeah, maybe like a long almond. But when we do our filing and finishing, I'm actually going to just zip that end off with my electric file, and we'll straighten that out into a stiletto shape. So I'm not going to worry too much about trying to make that a perfect edge here. I'm not going to try to straighten that out too much. I'm just going to come in and just kind of give myself a rough, kind of a rough design on that, okay? Now, we're going to do the same thing like we did on that first nail. We're going to pick up a small pearl and press, press, press. And we're going to just pick that one up, starting that right at that cuticle area. Again, this is going to be our barrier layer, so that when we have our glitters on there, we have our colored acrylics on there, and we want to change out our design, we only are going to be filing down to this layer of clear product. We're not going to be filing all the way through to that natural nail. Okay, so that's going to be our kind of our guide when we are changing out our designs. Okay. All right, let me set my clear off to the side. And I'm going to grab my slick pour, and this is, again, is called Sucker Punch. Now you guys, as I'm working here, this base layer has started to set up. On my first nail here, it's pretty well set. If I tap that, I can hear kind of that sharp clicking sound. To me, that means that my product is pretty well set. But as I'm kind of waiting, this one here, it's still a little bit soft and pliable. It's actually a little soft right now. But as I'm working, especially when you're doing your coffins, your stiletto nails, those nails that you want that really nice tight pinch, you want to make sure that you're coming in and actually pinching in that C-curve a little bit more. And I'm using my 2 pointer fingers here. I always say either use your pointer fingers, your middle fingers, your ring fingers, your thumbs. But what I wouldn't suggest is using your thumb and your pointer finger, because that's going to give you an uneven press. If you use your pointer fingers, that's going to give you even pressure on both sides, and that's going to help to give you that really nice tight tapered C-curve and that really good pinch into that nail. Okay, now you can use your magic wand. We do have this awesome tool for pinching right up into the body of the nail. Unfortunately, that doesn't actually get that free edge, so that's where you do still want to use your fingers to get that really tight pinch in there. Okay. All right, so at this point, I'm going to just take my forms off because they're going to probably want to come off anyways. So let me just grab my magic wand again and just kind of release that. And you know what, this actually, I'm going to let that one set up just a little bit more. We'll work on our first nail again. Okay, so we're going to grab our slick pour color here. And we're going to come in here. Come in nice and close so you guys can see this. So just like we did that pearl on the nail bed area here, we're going to pick up a nice small pearl. And I'm going to leave it a little on the wetter side. Okay. And we're going to just start that right up by my cuticle. I'm going to press that out nice and thin, as close to my cuticle as I can get without touching. You want to make sure that your product is never touching that skin. Couple reasons for that. You want to make sure that you're not touching so that you don't have any issues with allergies or contact dermatitis or things like that. But you also want to make sure that that product gets a good tight seal onto that natural nail. And if you get product up onto the skin, I had a little bit of product right on that edge there, but if you do get product up onto the skin, it's not going to get that really good tight seal to that natural nail. Okay, so make sure that you're keeping your product off that cuticle. I'm going to pick up just a tiny little bit. I just wanted to touch up that area just a tiny bit. Okay, our next color that we're going to use, oh my gosh, you guys, I forgot the fun part. We're going to mix. We're going to mix our glitter. So I'm going to grab my Dappen dish here. You guys, if you want to mix a larger part of this, you can use the mixing jars, but what I'm going to do is just mix enough for just these 2 nails here. Okay, I'm going to grab my Speed Clear and my little scooper here. Hang on one second, let me clean this off real quick. All right, so I'm going to grab my little scooper here. I'm going to scoop out 3 scoops, so 1, 2, 3 scoops of our Speed Clear and 1 scoop of our glitter mixture here. Now this one has, I showed you guys before, it has a lot of that finer glitter in there, but then it also has those bigger chunkier ones. Do you see how they kind of separate a little bit? So on this side you can see just those bigger chunkier ones. Over here you can see all of that small stuff. So what I like to do is I'll turn my jar upside down, kind of give it a tap, or even just kind of shake it all around. That way it's going to really bring all of that glitter together, and it's going to kind of make it a little bit more even. Okay, the other thing you can do, if you feel like you're still not getting that glitter in there, kind of give it a scoop from the bottom up, because those finer glitters do tend to kind of sink to the bottom. So if you want more of that finer glitter, scoop from the bottom and get those brought up. Okay, so 3-to-1 acrylic to glitter, so 3 parts acrylic, 1 part glitter. So I did 3 scoops of glitter into my Dappen dish. I'm going to do 1 scoop of glitter into, did I say that right? I did 3 scoops of acrylic into my Dappen dish, and we'll do 1 scoop of glitter, and we're just going to mix that up really well. Now, I always like to kind of check my mixture here. I'll pick up a pearl and just kind of check that. Does it feel like it has enough acrylic in it? Does it feel like it has the right amount of glitter to it? Yes, I think we're good to go on that. All right, you guys. Anybody new to our channel? Anybody that hasn't joined us before? Let me know in the chat if you're new to our channel. I want to know who's with us here. And if you are new, make sure you do hit that subscribe button and get all of this great education. All right, so we're going to grab a little bit of that glitter mixture. We've already got that kind of that burgundy brown. I'm going to say burgundy brown shimmer. Oh my gosh, look at you guys. All of those new people here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get all of this great free education. You guys, you can't go wrong with free education, right? All right, I think I'm going to pick up just a little bit of a smaller pearl on that one. Welcome, welcome everybody. Welcome all you newbies. So just picking up, oops, I see you guys. I left a little too much liquid in my brush. And what happened is it just kind of dropped down into that Dappen dish. So I need to make sure I'm going to drain out a little bit more liquid out of my brush. And we'll pick up, so we're going to press, and then we'll pick up just a small pearl. I forgot we're doing a smaller nail here. I'm going to start that right at kind of where that that glitter or that color kind of starts to fade out. I'm just going to tap that right along that edge there. Right along that edge, and just kind of start to fade those glitters back up and then fade those down just a little bit. Just kind of using the liquid in my brush, just kind of tapping that product down there. And I feel like I want just a little bit more glitter, not quite so much of the confetti right up here. So I'm going to pull that confetti down, but a little bit more of that glitter right up top. And then at this point, I think I want a little bit more of just those confettis. I want to fade those confettis down here just a little bit. So you guys, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take that whole jar of my confettis. I'm going to kind of tap from the bottom. Remember how I was saying that those smaller pieces of glitter tend to fall down to the bottom? So I'm just going to kind of help those come down to the bottom so that I can pick up a few of just the confettis. So then what I'm going to do at this point, my free edge has started to set, so my confettis are probably not going to adhere to that. So I'm going to grab just a small pearl of my Speed Clear. So just that tiny little pearl I was showing you earlier. I'm just going to kind of just wash that right over that surface. And now I can pick up some of those confettis and I can set that down into that tacky surface. So again, at this point, I'm just picking up those confettis. I don't want any more of that glitter because I just kind of want this to kind of fade out. So it's fading back into here, and then those glitters are fading out into my free edge and coming into a clear extension. So just kind of setting those down into that clear right on the end, okay? So at this point, I like how my design is looking, and I'm gonna cap this whole nail. So if we take a look at it from the side, we don't have a lot of structure. We definitely don't have an arch. We don't have an apex at all. All we have is our flat nail, and we have a little bit of glitter, or maybe a lot of glitter. So what I need to do is I need to cap this nail and seal in all of that glitter and seal in that color so that when I go to file, I'm not going to file off any of that color. So I'm going to pick up a larger pearl this time. Okay. I'm going to wait just 1 to about 3 seconds. I'm going to set that down right at my cuticle area. Press that down. I'm going to press all the way around my cuticle, sealing all the way around the edge of my color. And I'm angling that finger downward slightly. This way my product is going to run down the length of the nail. And then I can start to lift up and just blend out that edge of my acrylic. Just kind of wipe my brush here in between. Okay, so now if we look at it from the side, you can see, kind of looks like a big old lump, but that's okay. That's exactly what we're going for, okay? Because we want our cuticle area nice and thin. We want our product to come a little bit higher right up through here. And now we're going to add a smaller pearl to kind of fill in this low area here. And that's going to give us our beautiful arch and our structure, okay? So we're going to pick up another pearl. You guys, let me take off this form on our second nail here because it's just getting in my way. All right, so we're going to pick up our second pearl. This is going to be more of the medium, so I'm pressing my brush twice on my Dappen dish, and we'll pick up a little bit of a smaller pearl. This one I am, oops, Sorry, you guys, you can't see that. So this pearl, I am going to just slightly drain onto my paper towel. Actually, it's my table towel. I don't want to take out all of the liquid. I just want to drain out a little bit so that it's not going to run and flow. I'm going to have more control. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to blend that backwards, blending that right up to that arch and starting to really create that apex. Now at this point, I can use the belly of my brush, press that out, and start to blend that down to my free edge. And that again is where you're going to start to create that structure and that taper. So it's going to taper off and be nice and thin down at that free edge. Again, we've got our cuticle areas thin. We've got a little bit, I have a little bit more bulk than what I need here, but then it comes and tapers back down to the free edge, okay? So we're gonna file through right here and we'll take down that bulk, but we'll get to that when we get to our filing, okay? So you guys, I'm gonna come back to our second nail. I'm gonna show you that same exact process. Whoops, it looks like I squished my free edge on this one, but that's okay. We're gonna file it off anyways. So again, we're gonna do that same exact process, just on a longer nail and a slightly different shaped nail, okay? So again, we're gonna start with our slick pour. We're gonna pick up our small pearl in that. We're gonna set that right down at our cuticle area, press that down, get that product all the way out to our cuticle area. Again, as close to the cuticle as you can get without touching. Now this one, I can actually pull a little bit more of that product down a little bit more, so down the length of the nail, because we've got more space to cover, okay? So on our first nail, we just covered this tiny little space. Here we're gonna do about double of that, okay? And then again, just kind of fading that out, feathering out the end of that, okay? Let's come back to our glitter mixture that we have. We're going to pick up a pearl of that. And then same thing, I'm going to still start that right kind of where that product starts to blend. Tap the back of it so that that back edge blends out. And then I can start to pull that glitter mixture down the length of the nail. And you guys, you can stop your glitter mix wherever you want. If you want more clear on that free edge, you can do just more clear. If you want just more of that solid glitter on there, you can do more solid glitter. However you want to create those designs. Again, I'm going to grab another small pearl of that Speed Clear, just brushing that over to basically re-wet my surface here. And then again, I can pick up a few more of those, just the confettis, and blend those down into that clear extension and just kind of get that to fade out. And I think I'm liking how that's looking. Just gonna readjust a couple of those little confettis. I want to fill in a little bit of a empty area there. And I'm going to use my brush with a little bit more pressure to really kind of set those down in there. Now there's one confetti right here, the star right in the center, that I don't think it's actually set down into the acrylic. So I'm going to pick up, you guys, just a tiny little dab of acrylic. And I'm just going to set that right down on top. And that way it's going to stop and it's going to kind of stay there. So when I do my overlay, it's not going to move. So it just kind of reseals that one little spot right there. Okay. So you guys can see exactly the same kind of process, just on a longer nail. So now with this one, so on this one we picked up a smaller pearl and kind of blended it here, pulled it forward, and then blended back. We're going to do the same thing on this one, but we're going to need a larger pearl to cover a little bit more space. So we're going to go back again to our liquid. Come back here. There we go. So come back to our liquid. We're going to tap once. Come into our powder, we're going to press, bounce, 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 and that's going to be a little bit of a larger pearl so that we can cover more space on this longer nail. Same thing, we're going to set it right down at the cuticle, press that cuticle area out all the way down those sides, angle that finger straight down so that it can start to flow down the length of the nail, and then we're just going to start to blend out that edge. And again, you guys, my room is definitely starting to warm up in here. So my product is definitely setting faster. So it didn't flow and run quite as much as maybe I would have liked to, but that's okay. Because all I need to do is just give it a little bit more pressure and you can still move that product where you need it to, okay? So don't panic, you guys. If your product is starting to set faster than you thought it was, just use more of the belly of your brush, more of that fatter part, and use a little bit more pressure. You're gonna be just fine, I promise, okay? Same thing, we're gonna pick up our medium pearl right here for our center. I'm gonna tap out just a little bit of that liquid. We'll drop that down and blend that back, blend back, blend back, and this again is gonna help to create that arch. Now I'm going to pull forward and help to kind of blend that out off the end, capping all of those confettis in there, all of that glitter in there, and then just bringing that right to the end. Now I feel like maybe I'm going to need just a tiny little bit more product right here at the end, minus that little fuzzy that's on there. So I am going to pick up one more, just a tiny little pearl. I'm going to tap that side. Pick up one more tiny little pearl. This one I am going to drain out a little bit more, turn my brush back around, and again blend back. I like to blend backwards because this way again it's pulling my product up to that arch, and then I can blend off the end and taper that out. All right, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, give us the likes, give us all of the love. We appreciate you guys. But definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, so at this point, you can now see we've got our good arch in here. It's actually a little bit thicker at my cuticle area than I need it to be, but we're gonna file that down. We've got our nice thick area right up through that stress area, and then it again tapers down into that free edge. So let's go ahead and file out both of our nails. Our first one is definitely set, so we should be able to file that one right away. I am going to close up all of my products here so that I don't spill things, because you guys know I tend to spill things. So make sure you close all of your liquids, all of your powders, close everything up so that you don't get any dust or anything into them. Make sure you rinse out your brush, get any acrylic out of there, get any glitter out of there, wipe out your brush, roll it back to a nice tight point, and then your brush is going to be ready to go for your next application. All right, cap your monomer so you don't have that in your breathing zone. And then let's grab our dust collector. And you guys, if you don't have a dust collector, it is a high recommendation that you get one. It really is going to help to keep all of the dust out of your breathing zone and to keep that off of your lap and out of your way. Okay, so make sure you grab your dust collector. We're going to turn that on. I'm going to switch my sanding band to my X-Cut Carbide. Okay, so my X-Cut Carbide on my shorter nail, I'm just going to put that bit about that far in. Now when I work on my longer nail, I am going to leave that out a little bit, but I'll explain that when we get there. Okay. Monica's asking, do you ever crimp your brushes? And no, I don't, because, let me show you. Excuse me. Our brushes actually do come with with that little crimp already in there, so you don't actually have to do that yourself. If you are working with a brush that is round that doesn't have that crimp, I actually don't recommend crimping it yourself, because the bristles are put into the brush in this way so that they are at the proper shape. And even with a round brush, they're in that ferrule at a proper shape. So if you do crimp that yourself, it's actually going to put the bristles out of alignment. So I would definitely start with our Young Nails number 12 Greg's Signature Series brush to start with, and you don't have to crimp it yourself. Okay. Sorry, you guys, I've got a little cough. Let me grab a sip of water here real quick. Okay. So we did switch our bit back to our X-Cut Carbide, and we've got our dust collector on. I'm going to turn my speed on my e-file up to about 15,000 RPMs, and I'm going to start by filing the perimeter. Now what I mean by the perimeter is my sides and my free edge. So basically all the way around through here, okay? I'm going to come straight down on my left side, and then just start to kind of, let me come in a little closer, and then we'll just come around that free edge and then push back on my right side. Okay, so kind of a U shape. So again, down and push up, pull down and push up. Okay, now I got a little bit more bulk on this side that I want to take down, so we'll just work that side a little bit more. Okay, so we've got that perimeter. Now I'm going to turn my nail on the side. Now on my short nail, I don't have a whole lot of product hanging down here, but I still want to make sure that that lower arch is coming straight out from that natural nail. It should be coming straight out here. It shouldn't be angled down or anything like that, okay? So we'll take a look on the other side. So this side is a little bit more of that product is kind of hanging down. So, oops, sorry guys. So anything that's being covered up by my orange wood stick here is what needs to come off. So if we take that away, now we can see exactly what we need to file off. Now, can you do this by hand? Yes, you absolutely can. But I always feel like the more I can do with my electric file, the easier it's going to be on myself, on my shoulders, on my wrists, on my hands. E-filing is much easier than hand filing. Okay, we're going to turn that finger kind of from the side view, and we're going to work right up around our cuticle area, kind of tapering that down a little bit. Now I'm going to look from that side view. You guys see again, we've got our highest point right back here. It's got a good amount of bulk there that we don't really need that much bulk. So I'm just going to come through and take down the bulk where I need to take it down. So right through that high point. And then now I'm going to start to work down into that free edge. Okay, and you guys notice that as I'm working, my bit is angled kind of at a slight downward angle to taper that cuticle area down. I'm going to bring that bit a little bit more parallel, a little bit more flat on the nail because I'm taking down bulk through here, and I'm creating that arch. Okay, so now when I get down to that free edge, my bit is angled up. So you're going from here up and down, okay, following that contour that you want to create. Okay, so you guys, a lot of doing nails is angles. So making sure that your bit is at the right angle, making sure your brush is at the right angle. So now we've taken down a good amount of that bulk. We've got that nice thin cuticle area, still a little bit of thickness in our arch, and a nice thin tapered free edge. Okay, now we're going to look straight down the barrel of this nail. And now you can kind of see I've taken down the bulk through the center part. Now we just need to take bulk through the sides, and I'm going to just pull my bit towards myself on that side there, evening that out with what we just cut down the center. Okay, so again, my bit is facing downward. I'm coming up into this area, and then we're coming down onto our sides. Okay, so again, watching that bit all the way through to contour that nail. Okay, again, pulling through all the way, contouring that nail all the way through. Just taking down any bulk that we need to. And you guys, as I'm working, you can kind of see I'm moving that finger so that I can see where are those bulky areas. Where do I have a high point? Where do I need to file more? Okay, and I usually will take one last look from that side view just to make sure everything still looks where it should. And I think we're good to go on that one. Okay, so that's kind of the start of our nail. We're going to do the same thing on this one. Let me come in from a different angle for you. We're going to come straight down our side walls, straighten those out. On our coffin shape, we're just going to use our E-file and just come straight across. So just taking that little bit right off that end. Got that little bit of kind of frayed edge. That's okay. So now you can see we've got a little bit more of that coffined out shape on the end. Okay. Same thing on the side here though. We're going to push back on the side, taper that in a little bit more. Okay, I think we're good there. We're good there. Same thing on those lower arches. Now you guys, on the lower arch on the long nail, now you can see a little bit more hanging off. So again, this is what I want to happen. I want my product to come straight out from where my orange wood stick is. Anything that my orange wood stick is covering up needs to get filed off. Now there's not a lot, but there is a little bit, so I'm just going to push right back through here, tapering that in and cleaning that up. Okay, now if we take a look on my other side, Same thing on the other side, but on this side we're just going to pull down, keeping that straight in line with that natural nail. Okay? All right, same thing. Turn that nail on the side. We're going to work around that cuticle area, take down that bulk. On this one I did have a little bit more bulk, so I need to take down a little bit more product right around that cuticle. Oops, sorry guys. Actually, let me turn, there we go. That might be a little, that's a little better. And then same thing, we're going to work right down that arch of the nail, taking down the bulk. Now, at this point, you guys, I want you to see something. With this longer nail, if I'm working from here and bringing my bit at that contoured angle, what happens when I get to here is my handpiece actually bumps into the nail. I can't really get my bit at the proper angle. So what I need to do is I actually need to bring that bit out farther. So that's going to allow me to work in the correct angle without this part of my handpiece bumping into that nail. Okay, so let me turn my speed back on here. And again, we're just going to flow all the way through, taking down that arch, thinning that out where we need to, leaving bulk where we need to, clean up that cuticle area, and then we will come back around. And just like we did on that first nail, we're going to pull forward, taking down that bulk. Okay. I know you guys are excited to see the reveal. I'm excited too as well. We have just a little bit more filing to do. But as we are doing our filing, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and then we'll get to the end product. Okay, I promise you we're almost there. I know you guys are excited to see this final look. But again, just following through, taking down bulk where we need to. And again, you guys, as I'm working, I'm looking at different angles so that I can see where I need to take down bulk. If I was just working from this view and I was trying to take down product here, I have no idea on the structure of my nail. So that's why we're always looking down this angle and this angle, so that when we're filing, we can see the thickness, and we can get what we need to. We can remove what we need to, and we can file where we need to. Okay. All right. I'm going to switch back to my sanding band one last time. And I'm going to use this just to kind of refine right around the sidewalls, around the edges a little bit. I'm going to turn my speed down to about 7,000-8,000 RPMs. Yeah, maybe about 7,000. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit more. So right up around that cuticle area. And then we're just going to flow through all the way through, just like we did before, all the way down the length of that nail. Diva's asking, what color did I use for the brown? This is one of our slick pour colors, and I forget the name of it. It is called Sucker Punch. You guys, don't be afraid of the slick pour colors. They work absolutely fantastic. I know they are part of our quote-unquote dip system, but they work great as colored acrylics. So I'm going to take down that edge just a little bit more here. Straighten that out just a little bit more, taper that just a little bit, and I think we're good with that one. We're going to go through this same one here, just like we did before. Again, coming up around that cuticle area, tapering everything, and then again flowing through the surface of that nail. Okay, somebody was talking about giveaways. You guys, we don't do giveaways here on YouTube, but make sure you join us on our Twitch live stream. And we do a lot of giveaways on Twitch, so make sure to join us on that. You guys can text us on our text number and you'll get notifications. You can set your notifications here on live, on YouTube live, so that you can always get your notifications and you'll know when we go live here. All right, you guys, I am gonna grab a brand new file. So I've got a brand new file here. This is a 150 grit file. And I want to make sure to take off the sharp edges of my file. So I always have my little prep file here. I'm going to use that to go over the top edge of my file, take off that sharp edge so I go over the top, and then I angle it just slightly and go over that corner. So it just barely takes off that corner, but now it's nice and soft and I'm not going to cut my client. okay? On this side, it is a little bit sharper, so that's, again, we're gonna go through there, take off those sharp edges, and then our file is nice and smooth. Now, we're just gonna come through and refine. So I'm gonna come through on my sides here, straighten out my sides a little bit, clean up my shaping just a little bit, and bring that into more of that almond shape. Just kind of soften up that free edge just a tiny bit. And then we're gonna come up around our cuticle area, thin and taper that. Contour our sides, kind of round out our sides. So I'm kind of coming up and around. Just kind of rounding out those edges a little bit. Same thing on our right side. Contouring those edges. Coming back around there. And then we'll check from that side view, clean up our lower arch. Straighten that out a little bit. Same thing on the other side, straighten that lower arch out. And then I'm gonna check my structure here. I'm going to kind of just taper in that free edge just a little bit, just kind of filing backwards. Okay, so at this point we're good from this view. Let's go ahead and work on our second nail here. Same thing, we're going to just straighten out those side walls, keeping your file straight up and down. All I see of my file is that blue line down the center. That's going to show me that my file is nice and straight, and I'm not angling that file at all. I'm not angling my file like this. Okay, straighten out that free edge. I'm gonna come straight across that little coffin shape, and just like on our other nail, coming up around that cuticle, contouring those sides, coming up and around those sides, contouring all of those edges. Same thing on our right side, contouring around the cuticle, up and around those edges. We're going to turn from the side, check our lower arches. And you guys, because I used that electric file to take down quite a bit of this, I don't have a ton of filing to do by hand, okay? And again, that's one of the great things with the electric file is it's way easier to do a lot of your filing with that electric file than it is by hand. I've got a little bit of product right there. So all I'm doing at this point is just kind of touching up. So I'm not having to do a ton of work, not a lot of work trying to take down bulk. I'm just kind of coming through and making sure everything is perfect and smooth and even. Okay, just kind of tapering that free edge just a little bit. Now, this is always the last way that I look at my client's nails. And then you guys can start the top coat chant in just a little bit here, but we're not quite there yet. So we're gonna check our client's nails from this view. Make sure everything is nice and straight. Make sure your shaping is nice and even. If you want to bring that nail to a little bit more of a point, you can bring it to more of a point. If you want to round it out a little bit more, you can round it out a little bit more. But just cleaning up your shape from this view, because this is how your client is going to see her nails. So you want to make sure that you're seeing exactly what she's seeing. And then I'm going to readjust here, and I'm going to look backwards down the barrel of that nail. And I'm going to bring my file all the way from the left side all the way up and over to the right side. And this is how I'm going to really make sure that my contour of that nail is right on. Okay, so I'm contouring those sides up through the body and all the way back down to the other side. So I'm looking, you can kind of see, I also will kind of lift and lower that nail so I can see all the way from the cuticle to that free edge, making sure that everything is even. I don't see any high spots, any low spots, and I think we are good on that one. We'll do the same thing on our coffin shape. Make sure our side walls are nice and straight. Same thing on the other side. Make sure that that little tiny free edge is nice and straight across. Okay. And then same thing, we're gonna look backwards down the barrel of that nail, making sure everything is contoured on the sides, and make sure that my nail is in there good. Okay, again, contouring all the way through that nail, bringing my file all the way from the right side, all the way up and over down to that left side, getting that really nice tight contour all the way down to that coffin free edge. And I think we are Good. I'm going to check that free edge one last time. Nice and straight there. Okay. Those of you that have been with us for a while, you know what time it is. So go ahead and start the chant in the chat. If you guys are new to our channel, this is where we do our top coat chant. And what our top coat chant is basically you put top coat, top coat, top coat into our chat. And we get all excited about putting our top coat on because, yeah, it looks really pretty from here. But once we get our top coat on, that's where you're going to see that magic happen. So I'm going to come in with my manicure brush. We're going to dust off as much of that dust as we can get rid of. Clean all of that off really well. We're going to grab that swipe that we were using before. Put a little bit of that back onto my brush again. Dust that nail off. And you guys, when you have nails that are clear like this, always make sure you clean out underneath as well so that you can see that really beautiful clarity all the way through. And then we'll grab our protein bond one more time. And we will make sure that your nails are nice and dry before you put your protein bond on. Because if you put protein bond over that wet nail, it's basically going to kind of null and void the protein bond. So we're going to apply one quick little coat of protein bond over our nails. This is just going to give a little bit of added insurance for your top coat that it's going to stay on. It's not going to chip or anything like that. But it also gives a much more, I feel like it gives a more clarity to our nails when we do the protein bond. So it kind of fills in any of those little scratch marks or anything like that. So I'm going to grab my top coat. I've got my Ultimate Finish top coat today. We'll go ahead and top coat both of our nails. And again, you guys, this is where you see the magic happen. See that color pop, that glitter pop. You can see all of that beautiful glitter fade together. Come all the way through, top coat our next nail, and then we'll get them into the light. And with our Ultimate Finish, it's going to cure for a full 60 seconds, but when it comes out of the light, it's not going to have any tacky surface that you're going to need to wipe off. Once it's cured out, it is cured out and it is done. Just want to make sure I didn't get any underneath there. So I'm going to just pop this in the light. You guys, I'm just going to put that in there for a quick 30 seconds so it'll freeze it in the light, and then I'll show you guys the final look so that you don't have to wait the full minute. But if you are curing these on a client, again, make sure that you are curing them for that full 60 seconds. And while we're waiting, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, throw some love into the chat. I know you guys just put all that top coat into the chat, but if you guys are liking this design, if you are liking our class today, throw some hearts into the chat. And here is our final look. So let's turn this back around for you. And see if we can get a good view for you there. You guys, I always say the camera doesn't do it justice. These nails are much shinier. They're much more beautiful in person. Let me see if I can turn these around, see if you can get a better view. All right, that's a little bit better there. But you can see how now you can do those same colors, those same designs, just different lengths of nails, different shapes of nails, but you can definitely customize these for yourself, for your clients, and you can make them whatever is going to work for you. So you guys, if you do try out any of our designs that we show you here, please tag Young Nails so that we can see what you've been learning and what you're trying out and what you're practicing on. We'd love to see what you guys are doing. So take these ideas, take this inspiration, and make them your own. You guys, I hope you had a wonderful time today. Again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. It just helps us to be able to give you more free education, and we will see you guys back next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day today.